Hi everybody, I'm here today with another craft project idea for you. My goal is to give you simple project ideas that you can do with things that you most likely already have around the home, so you don't have to think about going out and buying stuff. And today we're going to be doing finger knitting. All you need is a ball of yarn and a pair of scissors. Now, I learned how to do finger knitting when I was in third grade, about 7 years old. So pretty young kids can do this, probably younger than 7 if they like doing fine motor activities. I did make one earlier that I wanted to show you. It's this kind of lacy chain, and the end product is going to be determined what it looks like by two things. Just like regular knitting or crocheting, the thickness of your yarn and what's called the tension, how tight you pull it, are going to determine what the end product looks like. So this was knitted pretty loosely, and it's a thin yarn, so it's very lacy. It'll look different if you have a very thick, bulky yarn. What could you possibly do with a chain of finger knitting when you're done? Well, first of all, what really matters is that you have fun doing it, and it can be very soothing because it's very simple and repetitive. You can listen to music while you do it, and it can just kind of put you in a very relaxed state because it is very simple and repetitive. But you can also use your finished product. You can make it into a headband. You can make a whole bunch of them and sew them together and make a blanket. I think what I'm going to do with mine, I've been wanting to do something like this for a long time with a tree out front that died, and it's got these dead limbs, and rather than cut them off right now, I'm going to make some chains and I'm going to wrap them around the limbs so I have some pretty colors in my garden on that dead tree limb. Okay, so let's get started. Really, the main thing that you need to keep in mind is that there are two ends to your yarn, and I'm going to be referring to this end as the tail end, and the part that is active, that is attached to the ball, is called your working end. And that's really the only two technical terms you need to know: tail and working end. You're going to take the tail end and you're going to put it across your palm. Now, I am left-handed, so I'm doing this left-handed. It's simple enough that you should be able to flip it around, but you're going to want to do the wrapping around your non-dominant hand. So since I'm a lefty, I'm going to start wrapping around my right hand. I'm going to take the tail end and I'm just going to lay it across my palm, and my thumb is just going to anchor it, hold it tight against my pointer finger, and that is all my thumb is going to do this whole time. It doesn't get wrapped with any yarn, it just stays holding that tail end. That's it. Now I've got my working end in the back of my hand. I'm going to start looping it around my fingers. The first loop that I'm going to make is going to be over my middle finger, then I'm going to go under my ring finger and over my pinky. So when I look at it with my palm up, I've definitely got one loop over my middle finger, and this one is kind of a loop around my pinky. I'm going to work back the other direction in the opposite way. So now I'm going to go under my pinky, and I'm going to go over my ring finger. So that just made a loop around my ring finger. I've already got a loop on the middle one. I'm going under the middle one and then over the pointer. And now I have a loop, one loop over each of my four fingers. And there is my thumb just hanging out, holding that tail. That's all it's ever going to do. I want two loops on each finger to actually start the knitting. So the tail end is going to do just what, the working end is going to do just what it did before. It's going to wrap over my middle finger. Look, now I have two loops over my middle finger, under my ring and over my pinky. Just like before, my middle finger and my pinky are the ones that have the most loops on them. So I'm going to now put a second loop on the other fingers by working my way back to the other side. Under the pinky, over the ring finger. Now I've got two on the ring finger. Under the middle, over the pointer. I now have two loops on each of my four fingers, so I can start knitting now. And all you do for the stitch is you're going to go, always start with the index finger, and you're going to take that bottom loop and you're going to lift it over the top loop to the back of your hand. So now I have one loop left on my pointer. I'm going to take the bottom loop on my middle finger, lift it over to the back. Same thing with my ring finger, over and back, and my pinky, over and back. So now I have one loop on each finger, and each time you do a stitch, you're going to want to push the rest of the loops down to the bottom of your finger so that they don't slip off. So now, remember, I need two loops in order to knit a stitch. I'm going to take my working end, which should be on the back of your hand between your pointer and your middle finger, and I'm going to start making that second loop just like before. So I'm going to go over my middle finger, under my ring, over my pinky, double on those two fingers just like before. I'm going to work my way back, under my pinky, over my ring finger, under my middle finger, and over my index finger. So again, now I have two on each, and I can do another stitch. Pull over to the back, pull over to the back, pull over to the back, and pull over to the back. Now, this is a really short chain. I have only done 2 stitches, really 2 rows. It's going to be a little loose when you start it, but what's going to happen is that chain is going to start going down. So if I take the one that I already made, it'll eventually kind of hang down from your hand like that. And what you can do is with each stitch that you make, you can pull it a little tight by pulling that tail end as it comes down here. Now what I want to do is I want to teach you how to finish it off. So I'm going to finish this off even though I've only done 2 stitches. You're going to have a long chain coming down from the back of your hand. To finish it off, you're going to start from a point where you only have 1 loop on each finger. No more stitches, no more loops, 1 on each finger. You're going to take the loop on your pointer finger and you're going to lift it up and flip it over onto your middle finger. So now you have 2 loops on your middle finger, but you don't have anything on your index finger. You're going to take the bottom loop and you're going to lift it over and back. So now you only have 1 here. And this one, you're going to flip onto your ring finger. So again, now you have 2 on your ring finger, and I can let go of that one between my thumb now. You're going to take the bottom one, flip it over the ring finger, and the one that's left, you're going to lift off and flip it and put it over onto the pinky. You now have 2 loops on your pinky. Take the bottom one, loop it over, and that very last loop that you have on your pinky, that's what you're going to use to end the knitting chain. So you're going to gently take it off your finger, and you don't want to lose it because you're going to need it. So I'm just going to hang mine over the index finger so I don't lose it. I'm going to go to my working end, take my scissors, and I'm going to cut. Better to cut too long and trim it later than make it too short. So I'm going to make it pretty tight, pretty long. There's my working end. I'm done with it. I'm going to take my working end that I just cut, and I'm going to just slip it right through the loop. I'm going to pull it tight, and you can't really see it because it's a teeny. I only did 2 stitches, but now I have a knot at each end, and eventually, if you do a long one, there's my knot at one end, there's my knot at the other end, and this is my chain. And you can keep going and see who can make the longest. You can also send us your finished product. If you want to make some projects with your finger knitting, go ahead and send it to Parent Trust, and we'll post it along with these videos. I hope you enjoy this project. I really had fun doing it. I find it really relaxing to have something very simple and repetitive that I can do, listen to a little music, hang out, and relax a little bit.